All right. So we're gonna try. I'm gonna try not to take too much of your time, but we'll see where this goes. So, hi everyone. Welcome to the Low Value Female Podcast, a place to decouple the female sex from economic resources. So pussy is worth dick because we believe in equality. As always, I'm joined by my favorite person in the whole world, Taylor. Taylor, how you doing? I'm good. I'm excellent. Trying to get on fights online, but I think that's just our culture now. Especially with fucking TERFs. God, I hate TERFs. I fucking hate them.
Super annoying.
Golly. When Nina Bowers called Trump the Lamb of America, I just about threw my keyboard. I can't with these people until Trump is beaten and driven before a crowd of jeering assholes and then like nailed to a cross and left for dead.
Can we kneel into McDonald's?
Oh my God. See? Exactly. Just anything. That's when he can be the Lamb of America. Until then, he's just a rich dude that got lucky way too much and is now paying for an obvious financial crime that he obviously did, and his goons fucking made notes about it.
It's her telling on herself. It's like, oh, I'm a moderate. I just have concerns about women's spaces or whatever. I don't know exactly what this lady's deal is, but like...
Women just want forgiveness. She wrote the book, What Do Men Want? It's Forgiveness.
Well, they're going to have to change their behavior first.
Right, otherwise you're a sucker.
But like, it's like, you're doing this whole thing trying to look reasonable, but it just turns out you're a right-winger, like Alter.
I get kind of a QAnon vibe from her because she keeps talking about like, oh, people keep trying to say that we're post-Christianity. It's obvious that we're going back into a new religious state and a revival. You know, is this the repaganising of America? Like, you are an idiot. You are an intellectual that is actually like a spiritual woo-woo person.
Yeah. Many such cases, but also it's just not true. Like prior to the Great Awakenings in the 19th century, like in the 18th century, excuse me, like America was not that religious of a country. Like the idea that like, I mean, I guess we were at the very founding, but then there was a long period in which we were just not that religious, and then the great first and second Great Awakenings happened, and that's when we got religious again.
So Stephen Fry on QI, when I used to watch that, there was a section, because of course foreign countries know better about like America's history than America does.
Yeah.
The Puritans went to the Dutch first. And the Dutch were way too secular for them.
Yeah.
They're like, they are so tolerant. We hate it. We have to go to America where we can be less tolerant. And
We can be as neurotic as we want.
Absolutely. And they did it. They managed to do it. And I guess, yes, from the very beginning, we've had like this religious fervor, this idea that like we are special, that we're chosen, that we're going to like be the rugged individuals that are going to like shape the world. And in some ways we have, but not in like good ways necessarily.
I mean, I can't say we haven't done anything good, like in terms of developing productive capacity or what have you, but certainly we are also bullies.
We wanted that sweet oil and all the resources. Oh, the bananas. We want the bananas.
Yeah.
And we wanted diamonds and any other like mineral.
Whatever it was we were supposed to get out of the war in the Philippines.
What were we supposed to get out of the war?
I have no clue, honestly. I have an ancestor that died in that war, but I don't know jack shit about it. I guess I need to learn, since my brother is marrying a Filipina.
Oh, okay. Oh, can she make lumpia?
She's like second generation, so I don't know. Maybe her mom can.
Perfect. Excellent. All right. Speaking of wives, Taylor, what did you think of the movie Johnny Lingo, a famed LDS story from the 1960s? Yes, 1969, made by Brigham Young University.
I thought it was really something.
It's really something. So it's a movie about Johnny Lingo, who is a shrewd trader amongst these native islanders.
So it's an imaginary island.
Right. It doesn't exist. It's made up. The story was originally written for Women's Day by Patricia McGurr, and she's Catholic, and then it was adapted into a essential like church play for the LDS Church, and then in the 1969 it was made into a movie that has the acting quality of a church play.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad. But these natives on this island, they have a custom where they bargain for wives, and you had mentioned that this is a custom that happens on some native tribes.
it's pretty widespread. Yeah.
So that's not unreasonable to assume that, but what Johnny Lingo has done, and throughout the first part, he's depicted as a shrewd trader and a competent individual. He is, every girl wants him to bargain for her. Like, oh, I hope Johnny picks me. Oh my goodness. And he picks what is considered the lowest value female on the island. Her name is Mohana. And her father calls her ugly. Like, one of the boys in their peer group says she has a face like a stone. If you give her a mirror, she'll break it. So Johnny Lingo decides, since he has been in love with Moana for his entire life since they were kids, he's going to build her self-worth by paying 8 cows for her, which is an unheard of amount. Because you hear in the village, the little women are talking about like, oh, my husband paid 4 cows for me. My husband paid 5 cows. And they're kind of like bragging. It's,
I mean, it's your worth within patriarchy.
Yes. It's the diamond ring. Like, how big is your diamond ring?
Yeah, very similar.
And so he does this, and he explains to the only commercial building on the island, the trader, Mr. Harrison. He explains, like, I am neither, he's not blind, he's not stupid, he's not crazy. The trader thinks, well, you're vain, right? You just want to be known for buying an 8-cow wife. And he's like, no, what I want to do is I made her an 8-cow wife by putting forth the money and investing in her.
You're buying low and selling high.
Well, yes, exactly. I think you had mentioned something about on X where a guy was like, you got to get a fat girl with a pretty face.
Exactly.
You got to get
undervalued stock was the term that he used.
You got to get the undervalued stock. And, I like it. I think that women could do that too.
Well, but then the key is that you would then get her invested in you, and eventually you drop the bomb that you're like, okay, but if you want to stay with me, you're going to have to lose weight. So again, you're buying low, selling high. You
half the time you don't even have to actually give her an ultimatum. All you have to do is say, oh, I'd really like it if you would actually lose weight. You'd be so much prettier if you lost weight because people would like you more. And you just get them in that. It's not that you're going to leave them, but there's definitely an implication of just, you could be so much better. Don't you want to strive to be better?
You need to do some asset management.
That's right. You have to assess the ass. And So I didn't want to straw man this. Like, obviously, this is a very like sexist movie, but from a review from the LDS Cinema, the review of Johnny Lingo from 2011, she's referencing the an article from the Salt Lake Tribune, which is a more liberal secular publication, where they're essentially saying Johnny Lingo is sexist. And this woman to say, no, that seems a little over the top. They're attacking the culture depicted in the film rather than the actual characters or the story. Of course, the society in Johnny Lingo, where the worth of women is determined by raw numbers of livestock and the father controls the ultimate fate of the daughter's marriage, is sexist. But complaining about a film having a sexist setting would be like calling To Kill a Mockingbird racist because it's set in a racist society. It misses the point entirely.
Well, this person has clearly never read To Set Us Up a Watchman, because that is racist.
I haven't read that one yet. That was what I heard was that Atticus Finch is a part of the segregationist movement, and her daughter, Scout, finds, all this segregationist pamphlet literature, and that kind of like shatters her image of her father being this, justice pursuing man and lawyer.
Yeah, and I mean, you can even see that in To Kill a Mockingbird, because it's like very patronizing, like his attitude towards the character the black guy who's defending. It's like, I'm doing this because like I'm such a good white man, and like you pathetic black man, needs my help.
And kind of takes it in stride when he's convicted as guilty, and is like, well, that's just the society we live in. And so you can kind of see how he's a benevolently racist person, where he's like, look, I'm not saying that they're worse, I'm just saying we need to be separated. Right, exactly. Kind of a Clarence Thomas type setting. Tober, she's just doing that because she's an asshole. I've got out there so many times this morning. They're fine. No. That's the chicken coop.
Oh.
So they're like right on the other side of the wall in the closet. So you can hear it really well. Yeah. So this person that's from LDS Cinema keeps going on about how, like, what was Johnny supposed to do? Because she argues that Johnny Lingo did the best thing in the situation, given the circumstances of the culture and of the system that he lives in. So, like, what could he do? Johnny could refuse to participate in the sexist culture tradition he finds offensive and actively protest against it. But Johnny will almost certainly end up without a wife. Ma'ana ends up marrying someone who doesn't like her, who like pays like half a cow for her. And Johnny's social activism gets dismissed as him being merely cheap.
Right.
So you can't do that. The second option is Johnny bargains down to the expected one cow, getting a good deal on a public commodity. Since the predominant culture tradition says that a woman's worth is determined by her price, Johnny supported it by bargaining for a low price, and therefore Mohana feels less than.
Right.
And that's also like, the outcome. That's a problematic outcome as well. So option number 3, Johnny pays the above market price, say 4 cows. That's higher than expected, but still with a normal. And then the end result is going to be going above expected market price, even above Mohana's father's own asking, makes a small statement. Mohana probably feels more valuable, but now she's considered equal to a great many other women on the island. So what happened with option number 4, he pays the exaggerated price and a ridiculous price for Mohana, 8 cows, shocking everyone. And this is progressive because he's making a statement about how ridiculous this... He's drawing attention to how ridiculous this system is. And
Is he?
yes, absolutely. So this is what happens in her mind after the honeymoon. According to this fucking writer, after the honeymoon period, what happens? Some of the other women, the 5 cow women in particular, start feeling jealous due to their sudden loss of status. They used to be at the top of the bridal social class, and now they've been replaced. And not by someone they respect as their superior in looks or class, but a woman who everyone had agreed was a lower class woman, and whose sudden elevation was due to a technicality, a groom who just happened to say the word 8 instead of 3, possibly out of purely selfish or vain motives. Bahana is the same person as she was before Johnny Lingo arrived, and so are they. The difference in cows paid doesn't change any of that. And no, by even this thinking, those women have already started subconsciously divorce personal wealth and social class with marriage price. So what he's doing is he's starting a revolution by overpaying for that woman.
I'm unconvinced.
So it turns out there's some research to back up that claim that you have there. So, Rog, all of the women already know the game is rigged.
Yeah.
They know that. They all, like, most women have already cynically understood from an early age that whether or not they go up in weight or down in weight, whether they get, like, big boobs or not, their worth as a person doesn't actually go up. They're just fooling the men. And so what that allows them is to have that, everybody likes to feel like they've got one over on someone. That's why they like people like conspiracy theories and shit. They like religion because they want to feel like they're a special kind of person. And benevolent sexism allows you to have that facade. So now you can like say, oh, I know I'm not worth 8 cows, but he's willing to do that for me. Yeah. And he's willing to be my guy. I don't care if he's crazy, blind, or whatever. He's respected among the tribe. Therefore, I am respected among the tribe. And
it's a game of social status, which is, extremely common within patriarchal indigenous societies. Specifically over, bargaining for women. Like men typically derive, I'm quoting Dave Graeber here, like a tremendous amount of pleasure from these sorts of bargaining games.
Yes. So in what was it? In a paper in 2006, it was shown that women who hold benevolent sexist belief have less ambitious educational and career goals and feel more dependent on future husbands for financial support.
Because they understand that they're not an agent.
Well, and yes, exactly. They have internalized this system. They're saying, okay, well, if this is the rules we're playing by, and usually women who have benevolent sexist attitudes also are the ones that are on top of the food chain. They're beautiful. They have like bubbly personalities. They're very amicable. They're like the cool girl.
Well, you don't question the system if it works for you.
Exactly. I think Todd McGowan said that anybody, if you are comfortable in this ideology, you are probably the one that it's benefiting the most from.
Right, exactly.
And so if you feel comfortable in this ideology, that should be an indication to question it, which is a really hard thing to do. It's like, well, everything's going right. Why should I question it? Because your privilege rests on a pile of bodies. And maybe you should feel bad about that.
It's like what your husband says. Like, if you've ever heard of someone, they stepped on someone's face to get where they are.
Yes. It's just, I know. But hopefully it's the right face, right?
I'm going to say usually not.
Nah, damn. Oh, yes. Also, so here's like the crux from another like 2012 study. Additionally, benevolent sexism is indirectly associated with life satisfaction for both women and men through a diffuse system of justification. In contrast, hostile sexism was not related to diffuse system of justification or life satisfaction. The results imply that although benevolent sexism perpetuates inequality at a structural level, it might offer some benefits at the personal level. So it's...
Because the only people who are hostile about it are the jealous strivers.
Well, it's the blue-haired, childless cat ladies.
Right. Well, I think it's the incel type men who aren't succeeding, who are hostile sexists. I mean, I guess there are women who are like that too.
Yeah. So one of the things I found on the 2X chromosome is that they have a really hard time acknowledging the pretty privilege, which I would have thought if anyone would understand the pretty privilege, it's going to be 2X chromosomes, but they...
The turf form.
It is not. No, it's for me, it is the front page of like women's, on Reddit. It's like a women's page on Reddit. As far as I know, they are not transphobic. They are very accepting, and it's because like I think they're like a main page.
I mean, it sounds.
It does. Now that I think about it, I never actually thought about it. I always just accepted it as like, oh yeah, it's just for women, and I'm like, oh yeah, sure. But it's...
We're gonna bioessentialize around here.
As far as I know, they're pretty. That's not part of this. There are terse forums on Reddit, but definitely. But that one is not, as far as I know. It's... I have a hard time with 2X chromosomes because they bitch a lot about men and the weaponized incompetence. That's mostly what I see. I see mostly like weaponized incompetence of men, or women coming to terms with the fact that they were blinded by, rose-tinted glasses or new relationship energy, and they're like, wow, he's actually an awful person that doesn't care about my pleasure at all. And that's neat. I mean, I think that's a neat thing to like come to terms with and be like, oh, I should really value myself and respect myself.
Definitely a form of consciousness raising.
It is. That's why I hesitate to call it, be disparaging of it, but it's hard to ignore the fact that when you have posts of women saying, I get so tired of being ugly and being ignored and invisible, and then you get like shouted down to, well, pretty women also have problems. Like, okay, but that's not what this is about.
Right.
I get it. It's a little bit like minorities complaining about how the system is structured against them, and then you have the poor as whites going, well, we didn't get anything either. Well, you do, just not as much as some other people, maybe.
It's like relative.
It's relative. It's all very relative.
I'm also oppressed, but relatively less than others. You see this in trans spaces as well, with passing and non-passing discourse.
So are they really down on the non-passing, or they just like want to like correct them?
I mean, it goes both ways.
Right.
Non-passing trans women hate passing trans women, and passing trans women think non-passing trans women are cringe losers who are bringing everybody down. They should try harder.
I had a boyfriend that would talk to me about working retail as a fat guy, and he was like, you can't sell as a fat person, you can't sell skinny people clothes. Because you have either like the fat rage where you just hate the skinny people, or you get like, or you're just not going to be you're a fat guy. You don't know what fashion is.
Right. Just put on your Zelda t-shirt, cargo shorts.
He was really bothered by being the way he was, but also did zero things about it, and would actually actively fight against me to do anything about it, as guys are wont to do. Because women have to civilize them, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
But so back to Johnny Legos and bride prices. So
It's called bride wealth nowadays, actually.
oh,
There's a whole argument in the UN about this, whether or not it was something that should be banned.
that's a hard one, huh?
Yeah, they decided not to.
Because it's not like, yeah.
I mean, Graeber argues that it's like, you pay for it because it's a token of the fact that you can't really ever pay for a woman. And this goes to like his point about human economies and how they use money, quote unquote, to rearrange social relations rather than to purchase things. And like, because like a human life is the ultimate value, you can't ever replace it through money. And like, because, when you're taking someone's daughter, you're taking all the like reproductive labor or whatever that she provides. And therefore, like, you have to give them something in return so that to make up for that, basically. And like, yeah, I think that covers it.
Yes, and in Johnny Lingo, the father is trying, in selling his daughter to Johnny Lingo during the bargaining, is like, she's so industrious. She mends the roof, she cooks meals. She's so industrious, in fact, that she's not even here at the bargaining table because, of course, Moana feels embarrassed because she knows that she's, an ugly, unwanted person, and so doesn't want to like be present during the bargaining.
Yeah, and then he brags about being a rich man, but then he's arguing with Johnny Lingo at the end about how he should have actually paid him 10 cows for his beautiful daughter rather than just 8, and how he cheated him.
I love
the
reveal at the end when they're like, what did you do to make her so beautiful? And like, it's obvious that she just smiled.
I caused her to believe in herself.
That's right. So that's another thing that I find interesting and paradoxically progressive about Mormonism. So there's this concept where you have a sweet spirit. So a sweet spirit is someone that is good on the inside, but doesn't look very good on the outside. They have a joke in Salt Lake. There's a temple square where you go to be religious in your like temple garb and everything, and it's like white robes. And when you are an older LDS woman after you've had a couple of kids, you tend to not lose weight quite as well, and so they call it whale spotting.
I mean, yeah, that sounds about right.
And which, when I heard that, I thought that was super offensive, and I still do.
That's because it is.
That's good. I'm glad that's true. But it's, so in Mormonism, you can't get into heaven unless you're married, essentially. Like, you or at least, like, especially in the more FLDS religions, like, you have to have 3 wives in order to enter the highest level of heaven, which is the celestial realm, as opposed to the telestial and...
I guess FLDS is more conservative.
The fundamentals.
Fundamentalist.
Yes, they're the ones that was what Warren Jeffs was a part of. He was a prophet of the FLDS church. And if only he didn't record all of his terrible crimes.
What is it with dudes recording their terrible crimes?
He wanted to jack off to it later. Like, that's, like, it was so obvious that he was doing this all for his own sexual gratification. He used an entire, like, system of people. So what they do with, like, the young men that don't have wives, they basically tell them that they're shit and that the only way that they can be redeemed is through work. So what they do is they get them to work. And it's amazing what young men can accomplish when they are, like, starved for affection and validation. And then if you work hard enough and they like you, the prophet Warren Jeffs and his father before him would grant a wife.
Right. Let me break you one off.
you can have one of them, and they would literally trade like daughters. Like you would talk to like one of them, like, oh, I want that daughter. Like, oh, okay, well, she's 12 right now, so maybe like in a few years. And Warren Jones was like, no, I want it now.
Oh, you see that exact same thing going on. I forget which example it is from Graeber. You can tell I've been reading that. It's for a class. But in Africa, is it the Tiv? It might be the Tiv. People in Africa that are like, their whole thing is like taking women and like trading options more or less on their future fertility. Yeah. Like, okay, you're going to get the rights to this 12-year-old girl's fertility when she comes of age because you gave me your sister, but I don't have an equivalent woman to trade back to you at this time. It's a futures market.
It's a futures market. That's pretty gross. I feel like we can do better, right?
Because patriarchy is humanity's original sin.
That actually sounds right, because with patriarchy you have... So I understand like divisions of labor can help with efficiencies in some ways. And so it's not like I don't understand how we got to where we are. It's just that I think with our hindsight, we can maybe get to a better place and like improve upon that system and not just fall back to it. See, this is the other thing that fucking Nina Powers and her goddamn turf bullshit. She just wants to go back to a time where people knew their place. Oh, have you seen fucking...
Classic reactionary attitude.
Have you seen fucking Jerry Seinfeld? Oh, I want to return... We need to return back to a dominant masculinity society?
Despite the fact that he is neither dominant nor masculine.
Oh, and he does not... And he specifically says that, too.
Oh, yeah, I heard.
Hate you. So he was on one of was it Barbara Weiss's podcast, where he's talking about Barry Weiss. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Where he's talking about, I am not a masculine man. I'm not a manly man. You know, Muhammad Ali, Frank Sinatra, those were all like masculine, manly men, and we need that. And now, you know, people are laying on the horns and driving all crazy because they don't know their place in the world. And we need to go back to a hierarchy of like, you think that we have traffic problems because of feminism?
What happened?
I think he was always shit. I think the only reason that Jerry Seinfeld is Jerry Seinfeld is because he is good at performing, and Larry David, who's actually talented,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say,
who wrote the lines for Jerry, who was able to deliver them, you know, awesome.
Yeah. I heard a theory on Twitter the other day, and I don't know if the show actually backs this up because I haven't watched it much, but it's like, it was positing that the whole joke of Seinfeld is that Jerry's actually not a comedian. But that, like, he doesn't know that, and, like, moreover, the real Jerry Seinfeld doesn't know that, so he's using his real stand-up, which Larry David thinks is bad for the show, and the point of it, because, like, people apparently make fun of Jerry in the show for having bad comedy, but also he's rich, so I don't know how that plays out exactly. Maybe it's just bullshit, but I thought it was an interesting take.
You know, that would be such, like, a thing that Larry David would do, is just slyly be making fun of Jerry Seinfeld in Seinfeld.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it is a show about nothing. And
hey, get a load of this guy.
He's a fucking idiot. God, what a fucking idiot. That would be kind of a horrific idea, though, that he intended to make Jerry to look like a complete buffoon and an asshole, and he ended up making him hugely successful.
Well, maybe that's also part of the point, is that you can be a huge unfunny buffoon asshole and still get hugely successful and popular within the system because people have no taste.
I guess that's why Jerry Seinfeld doesn't respect his audience, because the two movies that I know Jerry Seinfeld had a direct hand in doing was the Bee movie, where he as a bee has sex with a human woman.
That's like Howard the Duck levels of weird.
How does that even work? What is this like? One of those like giantess like fetishes you've always had, Jerry? Like I've seen those. I've seen those videos. It's fine.
Real dommy mommy hours. Who's up?
Yeah. But he said that he's like, look, comedy is a binary. It's either funny or it's not funny. And I can see someone who doesn't understand the substance of what they say or what they speak on. They just are saying words to elicit a reaction and delivering them in such a way as to indicate, oh, this is a joke. This has the structure of a joke. I'm supposed to laugh. Haha. If he doesn't understand the substance of what he's saying, I can see him just say, well, it's either funny or it's not. I either did a good job or I didn't do a good job. I guess that's a way to do it. You could kind of bumble your way through situations. You don't actually have to be self-aware to function in this world. Weirdly.
No, clearly not.
I mean, look at Trump, the Lamb of America.
Another person who recorded his crimes.
And wrote them down. And I'm surprised he didn't have the sex tape with Stormy Daniels. That seems like a total like Trump move where he has like a hidden camera.
Yeah, you could definitely see that. It's like the P tape, which who knows if that's real or not, but
I'm not invested in whether that's real or not. Nothing about the P tape like actually made me feel any way about it. I think he's an awful person on his merit. I don't need a PPK.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just par for the course.
It's just par for the fucking course. Yeah, benevolent sexism. Oh yeah.
Let's get back on the subject. Stop talking about douchebags.
Benevolent sex.
Walk up to me all the time and are like, "Hey, you're pretty," and I'm like, "I'm not even that." Then. And I just like, oh, okay. And I like walk away.
You're so pretty. Well, don't worry. You'll get to a place where you'll start like feeling a little nervous because of that.
I do. It's really uncomfortable. It's like, oh, okay. Thanks, random man. Please don't be violent to me.
I have gotten followed home a number of times in my 20s, and I don't have the same fear response that a lot of other women do, and maybe that's to my detriment, but I lived in Salt Lake City. It's one of the safer areas for women like me anyway, so it was fine, but I always had this, like, I would always, like, confront them and go, what exactly did you think was going to fucking happen here? Like, what did you imagine in your world that this was going to be something that was going to bear fruit? Like, it's creepy enough that you followed me in the car because I happened to smile at you through the car window. And the answers were usually something along the line of like, well, I just thought, you have to like try, right? And, what, do you have a boyfriend? Like, it just starts this cascade of like questioning, and because I'm engaging with them in a non like I fucking hate you sort of way, like they're expecting me to be outright hostile. That's when they know it's no. Otherwise, it's an open invitation. So you have to be like so mean to them in order to get them to go away, because otherwise, well, they have a chance. They got a chance.
I mean, I may have mentioned this in a previous episode, but it's like how Japanese women are starting to have to use a different
verb
tense rather than the when they say no to men, because like the verb tense that they traditionally use has been so eroticized in rape porn that they're like that it turns men on. So they have to use like a stronger like imperative form. I definitely think I talked about this before, but I mean it bears in the subject.
It does, absolutely. Yeah, I would really like to talk to an expert on the sexuality of Japanese culture, because I don't want to make a inferences that may not be true from like my Western sensibilities. So, but it does feel like a really sexist culture.
Yeah, I mean ours is that same way. It's the same way that, like the whole incel thing nowadays and the corresponding reaction of women has been like Gen Z women are just not interested in men by and large anymore. I mean, at least that's the stereotype that we get. Like, it's like they're not dating, they're not, because like men are on one, and so they're just like they're choosing not to participate.
Meh, I don't want to participate in this. It's not a good system. It doesn't seem to be a good system. South Korea seems to be even worse system. What is it, the 2B movement?
Oh, I don't know the name of it. But
4B.
That.
4B. The 4B movement. It's I can't. It's definitely like in the language, and I can't remember what it is, but it's basically like no dating, no sex, no friendship, and something else where you're just men. You can't be with men. Men have decided that women are the invisible bang babes that should be, seen and not heard. And even when they're seen, like very contained. But unfortunately, South Korea, much like America, is facing like economic strife. And so women are having to go back to work. So they're not going to have the time to be the domestic goddesses you fucking need them to be. And men are feeling a way about it. They, in fact, they elected a anti-woman prime minister.
Yeah.
And she was a woman. She was a woman candidate. A female like the...
Well, you were just saying about pretty women and being complicit in the system. The first thing that came to mind when you said that to me was Clarence Thomas.
Oh, God, right?
Or anyone of that nature. It's like, well, I got mine, fuck you.
Yes, exactly. Harlan Crow picked his token black men well. He bought and paid for Clarence Thomas, and Clarence Thomas was happy to be bought and paid for. Clarence Thomas was a black segregationist in college. He would write about that. He also wrote about how he doesn't think that black men should be with white women.
Despite being with a white woman.
What is that called? Miscegenation?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He didn't believe in miscegenation. That's such a great word.
But then he did it.
Well, of course he did. Because Harlan Crow bought him, and he's like, you know what? Maybe I can.
Miscegenation for me, but not for thee.
Yes. Yes. Well, he earned it. Now he's a Supreme Court justice determining...
So he's a Nietzschean Übermensch, therefore he's earned the right to miscegenate.
That's right.
I don't know if Nietzsche would agree with the formulation of earned the right, but I'm no Nietzsche expert.
Me neither. He cleared self. But what were we talking about? Oh yeah, benevolent sexism. And the hidden hand of the market. Oh, so I got us a Johnny Lingo individual worth activity.
Oh yes, because this is all a big thing in Mormonism, which is the reason we're talking about it in the first place.
That's great.
Because it teaches sexual economics.
It also teaches you that you shouldn't care about their looks. Again, this is why it's weirdly progressive. Who was Joseph Smith? Emma Smith was Joseph Smith's first wife, legal wife. And she wrote a lot in the Doctrine and Covenants and was very much divinely inspired. And so she, as a high value woman, was like, I don't want to have to take care of all these kids. Why don't you get someone younger to do it? And so he had like, I don't know, 60 wives or something like that.
Wow.
I think Brigham Young had 70.
Wow.
Brigham, it was Brigham Young University, where Johnny Lingo was filmed.
I mean, you can't bring up divinely inspired Mormons without me wanting to bring up the conspiracy theory.
Oh, what?
This is beside the point, but like, I read a conspiracy theory one time when I was in college that like early Mormons were using Datura to get high, and that was like what was behind a lot of the early like religious fervor, like because they would like all do like Datura and then like see an angel walk through the church.
The Angel Moroni?
Maybe, I don't know enough details to be able to say.
Datura is like DMT, right?
No. Datura is like scopolamine.
Oh, the zombie drug?
It's like true hallucinations. You know, if you're taking psychedelics, it like bends the fabric of reality or whatever. But this is like, if I was sitting here on Datura, I'd like, you know, be watching your head like turn into the head of a wolf, and then like, you know, your nipples turn into snakes or something like that.
Weird.
It's like, it's really bizarre.
I
have not done it, but that's what I read about on Arrowhead.
That definitely sounds like a religious starting hallucination cult. That sounds pretty great. I mean, is that where all of, how was it, in the Canaanites came on pine boats to America, and then Jesus appeared to the Native Americans because they're the lost tribe of Israel? That's where he got.
I mean, you know, when you start pulling that thread, it could really be anything.
But the Johnny Lingo Self-Worth, and this is by an actual LDS church. They have this activity where you go to like the 8 cow stations, and each cow station they give you a different cow themed candy, which I didn't know there was 8 cow themed candies, but there are. There's more than that, in fact. There's black cow, the cow tails, the gummy cows, and then
It's a whole thing.
Utterfingers. Yes. So they have a whole thing. So the first station is the daughter of Heavenly Father, and it's like, you are a daughter of the Heavenly Father who knows and loves you, and like, read these scriptures and write down how you know God loves you. And then the second one is our divinely based worth, divine cowgirls. And then you have station 3, the patriarchal blessing, the cow path. Do you know anything about the patriarchal blessings?
No.
So this is from the LDS Church website. First, it starts with the declaration of lineage. A patriarchal blessing includes a declaration of lineage stating that the person is of the house of Israel, a descendant of Abraham, belonging to a specific tribe of Jacob. Many Latter-day Saints are of the tribe of Ephraim, the tribe given primary responsibility to lead the latter-day work of the Lord. Because each of us has many bloodlines running in us, 2 members of the same family may be declared as different tribes in Israel. So they're basically saying inside your blood is the blood of the chosen.
So there's blood in your blood.
There's blood in your blood. There's blue divine blood in your blood. And then they tell you, so you have to go to the temple and you have to, you know, get from the priesthood this like declaration. You have like an entire paperwork that you then like put on your wall and you keep for the rest of your life. And you learn, you get like specific things, like they have lessons for you to learn that you have, let's see. Oh yeah. So they have instructions, personal revelations, because the Mormon Church is also about personal revelations, and the instructions from Heavenly Father, who know our strengths and weaknesses and eternal potential. So the priests are in the temple in this holy place where only like the best members of like the LDS Church are allowed to go in, And they like, I guess, either do datura or they huff their own farts, and they get God to say, you need to do this with your life. And they write it down, and they're like, this is your patriarchal blessing. So you are from the lineage of this tribe.
Oh, I see.
And then this is your position in all of eternity. These are your strengths and these are your weaknesses. So if you get a priest that is a complete fucking moron and doesn't know you at all, or like didn't do their homework, and they're just going to give you a generic fucking blessing. They're going to like do some kind of copy paste, and they're just going to give that to you and be like, you're special. Don't you feel special now? Don't you feel special? And
Right.
most
If they do know you, they'll tailor it more so they know which lineage that you're supposed to belong to.
And also, I imagine like there's favoritism where it's like if they particularly like you or they think that you're like special, they're like, oh, well, you get to be at this like more prestigious tribe. If any Mormons would like to correct me on any of this, please do. We now have a phone number, which I'm very excited about. I'm very excited about this phone number. Please call in. The phone number, so any opinions that you might have about low-value females, about this episode, about Mormons, or about patriarchal blessings, please call 669-249-3199. Again, that number is 669-249-3199. And you can just rant and rave about, your low-value females and how they make you feel, and we will listen to it and get back with you. I mean, maybe.
We'll cut clips out of it and play it on air.
Absolutely. Be entertaining. We also are on Instagram at OneLowValuePod. And our email is onelowvaluepodcast@gmail.com. So please visit us, call, leave a message, tell us how you feel. We really appreciate that. But I have to let you get back to your children.
Oh, yes.
But thank you so much for talking about Johnny Lingo and watching this amazing, amazing movie. Classic movie about sexual economics.
Yes. I'll never forget it. That's for sure.
Perfect. Okay.